This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust that today's podcast will be like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review. It will enable other excellent people just like you to be able to locate this podcast. Thanks for spreading the news among your friends. Let's talk a little bit today about helping your history. Are you aware that you have a history? From the youngest person to the oldest person listening today, we all have a story. It's our story. It's his or her story. Things that have happened in our lives. And not only do we need to help it, sometimes we have to heal from it. Sometimes we have to examine it in such a way that we learn the lessons that were there. One of the first things that you're going to absolutely have to have, and that is self-awareness. Are you aware of all that's going on in your life? Now, I'm not sure it's possible that we ever have 100% total awareness, but there are some things that we can increase, ways that we can increase our self-awareness. I would ask you, do you have a mentor or a friend or a confidant or someone you really trust that they will give you as close to the unvarnished truth as someone will give you? It may be a family member, it may be a lifelong friend, someone you've worked with a long time, perhaps a pastor or Sunday school teacher, or just a best friend that you drink coffee with. It really doesn't matter who it is right now. But I would try to ascertain some of this from multiple different levels. You may have a vision of who you are at home and how your family interacts and reacts to you, but is it absolutely correct? Are any of us at times really getting the true story? You may think you have a handle on the way you conduct yourself at work or in a small group or in any kind of a project, and others may not have that. You don't necessarily have to ask people who report to you. That puts them in a very difficult and awkward spot as to have to tell you what they may really be thinking. But there are people who know you. There are people who have observed you. There are people who have observed and watched you at work, at play, in various scenarios of life. And they might be the people that you perhaps need to lean on right now to just ask, how do I come across? Be honest. You're going to have to set the ground rules, and that you're open. And even though it may sting, and even though it may hurt, you're willing to go through an exercise of self-awareness. If you can find a way to do this, the dividends will go on forever. And perhaps you're a part of a work environment in which you have a supervisor or someone at work that you report to who does give you job reviews, job performance reviews. And that certainly is a major area of your life in which this needs to be done. But I'm wondering if it isn't time to get a cup of coffee and talk with a trusted advisor and friend and just say, could you give me some feedback? Are there areas in my life where I really need to be more aware of what's happening and how I'm coming across? And then have the courage, have the fortitude to hear the advice, receive the advice. Now, I understand there'll be times that some of the advice to you does not seem realistic. But before you dismiss it 100% out of hand, ask yourself the kernel of truth question. Is there contained in what's just been delivered to me a kernel of truth? I was leading in a place where the people were almost hypercritical. And in our Monday morning staff meetings, it had almost moved to the point of jokes, of who was critical, who was upset, who didn't like the way we stood, closed our eyes, the way we moved. And we would just sort of laugh. Well, one morning I came across a moment of inspiration because I felt we too readily just dismissed all criticism because so much criticism was coming in. And that's when I instituted the Monday morning criticism rule. before we dismiss it out of hand, and oftentimes, regardless, much of the criticism or some of the criticism should be and can be easily dismissed. But before we just dismiss it, let's look at it from all of our perspectives and ask the question, the very important question. Is there contained in this rebuke, this criticism, a kernel of truth? Is there contained, regardless who the messenger is, and regardless how it was communicated to us, is there something there that we need to evaluate, listen to, or a perspective that we didn't have that we absolutely must pay attention to? I would have to say that over the years of my life, I'm not sure at this point my friends have really helped me as much as I'd like to think that they did. I think our friends have a tendency to overlook some of the flaws. I think our friends, because they know our heart, they know our spirit, they are invested in us, they love us, and therefore they will be quick to overlook some inconsistencies and even some idiosyncrasies that we may possess. But my critics, I have learned as much, if not more, from them, because they weren't as interested in my feelings. They may not have known my life story. They were not personally maybe vested in me. And perhaps they were just looking to find things wrong. That may be the case. But the fact of the matter is, we have to accept help regardless of where it comes. If you make up your mind that you're only going to take correction from somebody you love, and you're not going to listen to some legitimate concerns and things that people point out who aren't people that give you warm fuzzies, then you're going to leave a lot of important lessons on the table. So I would advise you, learn from your critics. And not only do you need to have self-awareness, but there also comes a point, my friends, where we just need some self-acceptance. Yeah, I did have that in my past. Yes, I did go through a period of wandering. Yes, I was part of a failed experiment. Remember, failure is always an event and not a person. Just because you have failed, and everyone listening to me has failed at something, and more than likely we have all, including yours truly, failed at several things. That's not the question. Did you pick yourself up? Did you learn the lessons? Did you ask forgiveness from whomever you needed to get it from, especially God? And then did you make up your mind you were going to be better and do better and move ahead? You can either get better or you can get bitter. Life at times will treat you harshly. There is no such thing, my friend, as a pain-free life, but misery is optional. It'll be your choice. You are who you are. Perhaps there have been some things in your past that you suffer some really deep regret about today. Shake it off, give it up, ask forgiveness, say you're sorry, put a period at the end of the sentence, and move on and say, yesterday ended at midnight. Today is a new day, and I'm going to move in a new direction. I think when you get past some of this, you become more aware of who you are and why you react the way you do. When you learn to accept yourself that I am a human, I have foibles, I at times do poorly, but I'm a work in progress, and I'm willing to be corrected, and I'm willing to change, and I'm still willing to allow myself to be used in such a way to make a difference. I think that helps drain a lot of the anxiety and tension. A lot of the anxiety is we are trying to overcome so much. We're trying to live up to someone's expectations. And then there is tension at times. For instance, we really go through life with a lot of unresolved issues that we need to let go of and just move on. I think when you do that, you'll have a renewed energy and vigor. And I think when you have a positive view of yourself, that yes, though you have made mistakes and things have not always worked well, you've done some things right and you've made a difference and you have really been an important leader. When you begin to have a positive view of yourself, and then I think you can have an increased positive view of your team, of your family, of those around you. I think when you do these things, it will give you an increased connectedness to others. We are connected to others as we learn their story and we empathize. We put ourselves in their place. We begin to have some aha moments. I didn't know that about you. I'm not sure how I would have handled that. You know, you really have handled all of this in a remarkable fashion. It just will help you to see things. Oftentimes in our relationships and the things that we're working on, we are so elbow deep into the machinery that we forget to be looking for the hidden gems and the deeper meanings in conversations, in projects, in things that we're doing. I want you to know that you are special. There are things that you can do, and you are where you are, not by accident or happenstance. I would sort of like to think today you've had a divine appointment. So, look for someone today to get connected with. Learn to find somebody that you can help with their story. And there'll be someone that you can help by telling your story that will make a significant and large difference in someone else's life. At the end of the day, everything that I've been talking about of help with your history and help with your healing is it all leads to growth. All of these things happen, and if we apply the lessons, we'll grow into stronger and better individuals and leaders. And I think the other thing that is difficult for us is in order to be connected with others, our family and others, we have to slow down. Life is going at such a rapid pace that many of us just keep running. And to really get to know people and circumstances and situations that not only that we are going through, but that others are going through, and so that we can grow into better leaders, we're going to have to slow down. We're going to have to put our listening ears on, and we're going to have to tackle things that scare us. We're going to have to tackle and take on projects that are larger than we are. And with that, we're going to have to be willing to fail. Again, it's okay to fail. Lots of things fail, and when they fail, it does not mean you, sir or ma'am, are a failure. It means you are a member of the human race. You are the person that can be used. And my final in all of this is, it's so easy to get out of balance, and that's where some of this comes. It's great to work. I'm an advocate for working, and I'm an advocate for working hard. But I'm also an advocate for resting, taking care of yourself, nurturing the relationships, being present with your family, your friends, and finding outside interests with which to connect as well. You can do it, and you're going to make a difference, and you will model that for someone else. Have you ever just sat down and in 3 or 4 paragraphs written out your story? Obviously, you can't tell every fine key point of your story, but you ought to sit down with a sheet of paper and just, whether it's in bullet points or however you want to do it, what have been the highlights of your life? Not just the successes, which I know you've had many, but some setbacks along the way. Then ask yourself, what lessons have I learned? And how have they been applied in my life? And then realize much of that has already transpired in your life. There is no magic wand that anyone can wave and let you go back and do a do-over or have a mulligan. But beginning today, I won't let it be the thing that stops me, but I will allow it to be the thing in my life that helps me and enables me to become the best leader I can be at work, at home, wherever I need to be. You have been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this really was like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And please, wherever you receive podcasts, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, all of Podbean, all of the others, would you please take time right now when this is done to go and subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom? Recommend it to your friends and neighbors, and it would really help with the algorithms if you would leave a rating and a brief written review. It will indeed enable other excellent people just like you to locate this podcast. Remember, my leadership friend, today, wherever you are and whatever is happening, you are doing better than you think you are. You really are. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying, have a great and blessed day.